The indoctrination related to DEI has to be changed. I think we have placed a lot of emphasis on failure of the schools, and we've placed very little emphasis on, I'm just going to be blunt, failures of families and parents to adequately prepare their students to come and be educated. So I did my dissertation in, my doctorate is in organizational development. I did my dissertation about executive.
Oh, so you're a PhD. That's right, doctor. Whatever I read, it didn't have the school where you get your PhD. I just saw that you went to the University of Texas for your master's degree. So I introduced you as Dr. Pamela.
You
so,
did?
yes.
No worries. Yeah, and so I did my dissertation in implementation of DEI and how people do it. So I like working with executive teams because if they approve of it, that's when it's going to get done. If they don't, it's not going to get done. And so what I found is that in the work that I did, a brave, courageous research site that I had, but even in looking over the 3 decades of their data, twice was it mentioned that students are responsible for the outcomes that they receive educationally. And even then, it wasn't proposed as a strategy or as a statement. It was proposed as a question that didn't get addressed in the strategy. The reality is you need to be drilling your kids on them ABCs and 1, 2, 3s long before they come to kindergarten. You need to have your children reading to them. You need to talk to them like they're people instead of, playthings.
Baby talk, yes.
The baby talk and all that stuff. Like have real conversations so they don't have word poverty.
When my daughter, when she was very, very young, I always spoke to her, and I never, like you said, dumbed down the way I spoke to her. I made her come up to my level.
Yes.
But
that's it, and that's it. And so some ways we need to flip the script, right? We have people aspiring to have teachers paid, like to raise their pay to a certain amount. How about raising the literacy rates? My home state of Mississippi was doing abysmally with educational outcomes. They raised their literacy rates significantly. Now people are looking to them as a model. We got to get back to the basic phonics, right? Parents having to be tutored on how to do math. Baby, I'm going to teach you how I did math with all of that, because the whole idea is to solve the problem. So I think we need to return to some of the basic things in education. I think we need to stop teaching to the test. I think we need to start teaching kids cursive again. It does a thing in the brain. We need to start playing Tetris again. I don't know if you've ever been on an airplane and saw people try to figure out how to put a rectangle, right? And so I think there's some basic things we need to get back to in order to be more successful, but we have to stop blaming the system for what parents and communities are not focusing on, which is the basics, ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. And I will say, sending your children to school with respect for authority. That really does matter. I worked as a substitute teacher, and I worked across the region from very affluent schools to charter schools in underperforming urban communities. And I can tell you that the contrast and readiness to learn, just sitting there and being willing to listen, starkly different. Threatened with getting your butt kicked by somebody's mama because you asked them to sit down and be quiet. You can't teach like that, and I think that's one of the reasons that so many educators are leaving, because it feels like an impossible project.
That said, you're speaking to the culture. You're speaking to the culture, the foundation that needs to be laid before that child ever walks into a school.
Right.
Out of wedlock births.
Yeah.
They're the highest in the Black community. Upwards of 72% of children in Black America are born to born out of wedlock to single mothers. But the numbers are trending higher for other ethnicities, for Latinos and for white Americans. The only community where you don't see that number spiking is in the Asian and Indian American communities. But again, that goes to the culture.
It does.
If we're going to solve ultimately education, the problems with education and just the deficit that in the outcomes that we're seeing in the United States compared to other countries, we have to address the culture first. How can government, should government, have a role in addressing the culture, and if so, how?